Hello again and welcome to another episode of the TryPod NRL betting podcast, and this week we shall preview round 19. Lego!
Lego!
Summer bodies are made in the winter. Find F Sanity on Instagram today. Train F Sane or stay the same.
Thanks Evo, and this week we have a jam-packed pod for you. Obviously going 6 out of 7 last week in an epic round. The Knights just letting us down, not being able to cover, but another really good round, and this week we've got a heap more best bets for you. We haven't agreed on these before the show, so we'll have a bit of a chat about them. We both like various sides, so we'll see how we go.
I'm barely getting word in edgeways, brother.
Sorry,
yeah.
mate.
But
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Should be a good pod. Thanks to Evo. We've played his ad at the start just to give the people what they want, get us going. We've said it before, he's got his own Facebook page now, and he does DJ sets and he drops bangers.
So
check it out, F Sanity on Facebook.
All sorts of stuff.
And he does live streaming, and as we've said before, sometimes just in a singlet, sometimes less than that. And the girls out there, a bit of breaking news out there.
Yep.
We've got to give the people what they want.
Yeah.
He's single again.
Yes. Didn't last long. But...
Yeah, I mean, I think he was going out with a girl for about 4 days, which is a new record for him.
Yeah. Now he's back on the market, single and ready to mingle.
Well and truly. So get involved in that.
Yeah, definitely. And another shout out to Evo really quickly. He has made us some shirts, which we have been advertising on the pod. Now we're doing a first round premium release. They're only going to be $20, which saves you about saves you about $10 from buying on the actual site.
Yep.
So hit us up on Facebook with your size and what colour you want, etc., and we'll do a bulk order.
Yeah, you got singlets, you got shirts, you got hoodies, ladies tees, ladies singlets. They're pretty sweet, and like this offer cannot last. It's only for the first batch, so just hit us up on the page. You can be one of the first people to own one.
Yeah, because we're copping a bit of a loss on this first one, so take advantage.
It's worth it. I mean, I always thought that we'd be a betting podcast, but now I'm starting to think we could actually, butter our bread as a clothing label. I mean, these shirts are so epic.
They are really good, and really good quality too.
Yeah. Now, look, we've got a few things to talk about. We're going to talk quickly about last round. We had a really successful round. We've got an awesome big round coming up as well. We want to talk a little bit of betting theory, just about how lines work for people who may not have heard some of our earlier pods. Just a bit of a refresher.
Because we have had a few new likes lately, so maybe we need to run through Betting 101 again, a segment that we haven't done in a while.
I know it's already Thursday lunchtime, and apologies for getting the pod to you a little later. I mean, last weekend seems like a while ago. Do we want to talk about Saturday night and you throwing up in the stairwell?
Nope.
Nah, okay, so we'll move on.
We don't want to talk about that.
Where do you want to start? Let's talk about round 18.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
And it was a grim start. It was a grim
it was sort of slightly grim start. It was a grim first half start.
Blake Austin had 3 tries before I'd even bloody...
And I saw there was a promo on Sportsnet, Blake Austin's to score a try and the Raiders to win, and usually they go against the sharp side, and I thought, we're on the right side here with the Knights, and turns out I think we were.
Yeah. I think they just spotted him a 24-0 head start. We still covered the try line, and we still covered the Knights' points total.
Yep.
Quite comfortably in the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they came for them, you're not going to win many games in the NRL when you spot a team a 24-0 head start.
No.
It was a combination of a lot of factors. It was a bitterly cold night. The Raiders chanced their arms straight away, throwing it around from the opening set. And also a bit of fortune for the Raiders, a couple of tries off kicks. Look, that's the way it goes. I didn't lose too much faith in the Knights because they came back strong. They didn't drop their head, It looked like any score could have been possible.
Well, they scored like 3 tries in 10 minutes. So
exactly.
They were coming home
So
strong.
they could have lost by 50. They didn't. They came back and only lost by 14. Unfortunately, we didn't cover, but we covered the next 6 best bets.
Yeah, that's right. And we easily covered their points total, easily covered their try line. Obviously, we're definitely on the right side with the Sharks, who absolutely demolished the Dragons.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely on the right side with Manly.
They were depleted.
We probably should have had more best bets on that. We were certain that they were going to win that game.
Exactly right. So really confident. We gave out a couple of best bets with the Sharkies and Manly. Of course, we went under the try line on Panthers Roosters. Again, that was very comfortable. Only 28 total points in that game.
Yep.
And we've said all season that the Storm, their good fortune and their injury luck is going to catch up with them.
Yep.
And it's going to be tough for them to get through the Origin period.
Yeah,
and that's
right.
when you got to go against them. And they lost by 14 to the Warriors. And
that's
we've
right.
said that the Warriors are starting to build pace. And look, what takeaway I'll take out of that game, I watched it. The Storm gave themselves a chance. Cooper, Cronk and Smith and Chambers all backed up after that, epic win for Queensland. But Magic Johnson.
Yep.
He is balling up. He's balling out of control right now. We've spoken before about the best players in the comp, and we've said, Thurston is above everyone else.
Yes,
but
agreed.
right on that next level, you've got guys like Cronk, Inglis when healthy,
Yep.
Dugan, and I've got to put Magic Johnson right up in that upper echelon of players that can change a game. Just keep that in mind if you're looking at going against the Warriors. That's danger.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they're heating up and they're getting healthy at the right time of the season too.
Yep. And that was even we had the Warriors, and then afterwards, obviously, we found out that all 3 Storm players were backing up from Origin.
Yep.
And
Ryan Hoffman wasn't.
And Conrad Hurrell was out.
Yeah,
so,
and Hurrell was out, and Badavai was scratched just before kickoff too. And they still were just clearly.
So it shows you it's a good Warriors team.
Side. It is, and they're gonna build momentum. They've come through Origin pretty unscathed, and they're going to build momentum. They're going to expect to make the finals, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And
as a lot of teams are, it's just a really even competition.
It really
so
is.
many teams still in contention to make the 8. A lot of teams going to be desperate. I
think there's going to be a bit of reshuffling too, because there are a lot of really, really good teams, like the Bulldogs, like the Panthers, that haven't had a great start to the year, that should be sitting a little bit higher on the ladder. So I think we're going to see some teams, get bumped out of the 8.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come round 26.
So as we said, won 6 out of 7 best bets, and that's against the line. And do you just want to explain how the line works? So I mean, for any game, there's several different, there's hundreds of betting markets that you can play. But this is the traditional 50-50 handicap. So they try and give the favoured team disadvantage or take away a certain number of points from the favoured team so that they can split the result 50-50. So we've got, this weekend the Roosters hosting the Warriors. Everyone expects the Roosters to win, but I think the line is 10. At 10, minus 10. So now the Roosters, to cover the line, are going to have to win by more than 10. For the Warriors, they're going to have to either win or lose by less than 10.
That's right.
And that the handicap is the great equaliser because it means that either side has a chance. There's no certainties with the line, and it's designed that way because if there were certainties, then people could make a lot of money.
Oh, definitely. And the line's made, that's why it's really tough, and we mentioned this earlier, to find value, because they've got a team of experts themselves, making that line, and that's where the team of experts think that the game is going to land. They think that the Roosters are going to win by 10 points. So what we try and do is find, not necessarily mistakes, but where there might be a bit of value in one team where we think the line might be a bit too high or a bit too low, one way. So
and any market is gonna regulate itself, and
that's right.
It's gonna tweak out inefficiencies. Any inefficient market will correct itself.
That's right.
But it's about getting ahead of the curve, and you're right. For different reasons, we might think that a line is a few points off where it should be, and that's, as we've said before, why we don't have a best bet every game. Sometimes we agree. Most of the time we agree with the line makers. They get it pretty right. They do a good job, and there's a lot of money at stake.
That's right.
But for us to be winning over 60%, more than 6 out of 10 of our best bets on NRL, and 65% on all our line best bets, when we've given out over 100 plays, is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, just so you know, I mean, you might say, they've got the advantage, because they're giving you $1.92, so they're taking 8 cents out of the dollar, and that is the advantage that they take. But the advantage that you have is that you don't have to play every game.
No.
You can pick and choose your spots. So in that way, that's how you as the player have the advantage. So I mean, those are the ones that we like to play most. Is just our standard line bets. We think there's more value in that. Once you start getting into the margin betting and all that sort of thing, they take a little bit more value out. The more options that you have on a single bet, the more value gets sucked out.
Yeah, I rarely play margins unless it's a really strong edge, or it's a bit of an outlier, or someone's just hanging a price a bit too high. Or one other scenario, when a line has moved a dramatic amount, I'm talking more than 6 points, sometimes you can look at the other markets, like margin, like first team to score 20 points, team to be leading at 60 minutes. Sometimes those markets haven't been corrected and they reflect the opening price.
That's right.
And then you can find value there. But any other time, I think your best bet is to just look at the line, at the 50-50 line.
Even sometimes,
you're not going to get ripped off.
Yeah, even sometimes, and we've done this in the past, looking at pick your own line. We don't suggest it most of the time because they take off a little bit of value. But sometimes you're right, when a line has moved a lot, they don't adjust the pick your own line straight away. So sometimes you can find some value, if you look after the big line move.
Yeah, and just one other thing, we play a lot of totals and team totals, and it's important that you play those ones early if we suggest it, because the problem that we've had in the past this season is we'll give out a team under 24.5,
Yep.
and we'll be on the right side, and that total will move to 22.5, and people will go onto their betting app and they'll look for under 24.5, and they'll say, oh, what the hell, this has dropped down to $1.50. And the issue is that if you're playing an alternate team total or an alternate game total, they absolutely rip you off.
Yep.
We rarely will play alternate team totals or alternate game totals. If you miss a total, you've missed it really, because they're just going to massively take the juice out of that. And that's not
right.
going to be positive EV.
Yeah, that's right. And I guess one more thing to add, when we give out a side, let's say we give out a side plus 10, and the line moves in favour of that, and that moves down to, plus 8,
Yep.
you need to decide for yourself if there's still value there.
Yep.
We're giving out plus 10 as a play, but sometimes, if the line moves to plus 8 or plus 6, we most likely won't love that, the same amount. So
Yep.
try and at least play the ones that you can find that are still there, with the line that we say. And otherwise, maybe just leave it alone if the line's moved an awful lot.
Yeah, I think the last thing I'd say is just I think we've proven beyond reasonable doubt that we're giving out more winners than losers. You can take that to the bank.
Yep.
I know that not everyone out there is playing every single best bet, and that's not what we expect you to do. We expect that people have their own opinions, their own sides that they like, their favourite team.
Yep.
But just use the information that we give you. If we strongly like a side, then you've probably figured out by now you're not going to get rich betting on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if you liked the other side, maybe you leave it alone. If you like a side, you hear we like it too, then you probably know.
Yeah, definitely.
Giddy up.
Yep,
Get
absolutely.
on board.
Well, should we jump into the round?
Let's do it.
So Friday night we got the Eels hosting the Bulldogs. The Eels catching 8.5 points and a low total sitting about 36.5.
Yeah, I mean the Eels are getting a little healthier. Still got a couple key players back. When Rudder is there, there's always a chance. And he's scoring 1 or 2 tries every game.
It's ridiculous.
He's got some sort of record.
5 games in a row that he scored 2 or more tries.
Yeah, the guy finds a way to get over the line.
Not done since the 60s.
Yeah, now the Bulldogs disappointing last weekend, but I'll give a lot of credit to Brisbane to win down in Sydney. Obviously maybe a bit of a hangover from Origin, a few disappointed players on that Bulldogs team.
Yep.
But they are now getting really healthy. James Graham's back. All the troops are back from Origin. You cannot go against this Bulldogs team right now. We've said before, they're not where they want to be on the ladder. But there's not much value in this. You're going to have to lay a lot of points with the Dogs. If anything, the Eels probably have a chance to keep this close. I don't know if they will or not. I feel like the line's about right. I don't have a single best bet on this game.
Yeah, look, and I can't really lean aside. I mean, I think the Dogs will definitely win this game.
Yep.
But laying 8.5, and we've said this many times before, we don't like to lay big points.
Nope.
There's not many things that we do lay, but definitely not big points. But the
Definitely not.
Eels do have the ability to put up some points. They are getting a little bit healthier. They're still not full strength. If I was to look at anything, I think these are both teams that can definitely put on points. So I'd lean towards the over 36.5, but I definitely don't have a play on either of the sides necessarily.
Yeah, and that's interesting. We'll have to go head-to-head here. It won't be a best bet, but I actually was leaning to the under because I think the Eels are going to come out and really grind here. Just a slightly healthier side. I think they really want to put in a good performance. They probably know the 8's beyond them, but they're at home. They're really going to show up, and I think the Dogs are going to be the same. The Dogs are a very good defensive outfit, and I know they've got a lot of weapons to put on a lot of points, but I could easily see these teams scoring in the teens. So don't love the over. So
Yeah,
looks like that one's a pass.
Let's leave that one alone. Next up, we got the Storm hosting the Panthers, and this line sitting at 7.5 to 8.5, and the total sitting at 36.5 to 38.
And I love the Panthers, but we didn't play on that side last week. We just took the under, and they're a good side to play under because.
And we did that because we love the Roosters.
Yes, and the Roosters are a juggernaut, and I wish that they hadn't won by 20 last week.
Yes,
I want to make some money on the Roosters, and I want listeners to as well. And the secret's really starting to get out. Yeah, on the Roosters, that they're probably the strongest side in the competition. So I'm not going to take much away from the Panthers for losing that game. They are not full strength, still without Seguiaro, still without Moylan. But other than that, it's a pretty good, tough team. Now, this is pretty bad spot to go against the Storm. I think the Storm side has lost 4 or 5.
In a row. I think it's 5, yeah.
definitely probably 5 of their last 6.
Yep.
They're going to be desperate. They're at home. It's Cameron Smith's 300th game. I think they're probably going to find a way to win the game. But it's too many points, to be honest. And that's why I'm going to try and talk you into just taking Penrith plus 8.5. I didn't really love it. But then I started thinking to myself, or would we prefer to maybe play Penrith over 14 points? Would that be a better way to cover? Or do we try and take the Storm, kind of under 22? And then I was thinking, well, I trust the Penrith's defence. I think they can get into a grind. They've got a good kicker as opposed to Smith for the Storm, who's an average kicker. I do expect them to get into a grind. They need the game as well. It is just too many points. I don't want to put all our eggs in one basket and play too many plays on this game. But I think we don't overthink it. We just take the points in what is going to be a good match in a tight competition.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tight game, and this line was sitting around 7.5, and then obviously, Moylan's out, their first choice fullback, and then obviously Zalesniak's been ruled out for the rest of the season, so they're down to, third string, I guess, and they've got to do a bit of reshuffling. So that sort of scared me off the game a little bit because he's a good young player, a good young fullback. So it's a tough one because I really do like the Panthers, and I think the Storm is a team that we did want to go against, but coming off a loss last week, and obviously the Panthers off a loss as well. Look, I'm leaning to stay away from this one. If anything, I'd lean towards the Panthers catching 8.5. It probably is too much. It probably is too many points. You're right.
So where did you hear that? Tenny Zalesniak is out for the season.
He's out for the season.
He was named on Tuesday. That's actually news to me.
He's gone. He's gone for the whole season, having
that?
season-ending surgery.
Oh, is that right?
Yep.
So you heard in practice or just?
I think he must have heard it during the week in practice or something. It was on NRL.com and on League Live and everything.
Yeah. Okay. Oh well, maybe you're learning that for the first time as well. If you're listening to the pod and give the people what they want. Didn't know that. He is a really good player, and they're going to miss Moylan even more. And Moylan's still a few more weeks away.
Just worries me a little bit.
Yeah, it does.
He's good. He's a good player.
Well, I'll let you make the call. I would still just about grab the 8.5, or do you want to leave it?
Yeah, look, instead of what sort of team totals are you finding here? Because obviously he's going to be, holding the fort back there, in defence.
The issue is it's a very low total, so I don't really. Collapsed lung. I've just seen.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that's pretty terrible. Yeah, you're right. That's going to affect their ability to put on points. And even when Moylan's back, he was a weapon in the back line. All right, look, we've ummed and ahed a little bit too long. It's definitely not a best bet.
Yeah, anything that we're sort of shaky about, we'll leave
Let's
it alone.
leave that one alone. Let's hope that the Storm win comfortably, and then we can make some money on the Panthers later in the season.
Yeah, that's right, and going against the Storm. So, no play on that one, but let's cross our fingers that the Storm have a big win here.
Yep, for Cameron.
So next up, we got the Raiders hosting the Sharkies. This line sitting at 3.5 to 4 points. The Raiders are favoured at home, and a high total sitting at 42.5 to 44.
Yeah, and at the start of the pod, you spoke about a few teams that aren't where they want to be on the ladder and have high expectations for themselves. And one of those teams actually is the Sharks. They've had quite a few injuries through the year.
They have.
Had a couple of guys involved in Origin, and involved in that defeat, like Ennis and Gallen. But they're starting to get all the band back together too, and they put on a good win on Sunday against the Dragons. Now, we don't always love playing a team that's off a big win because, they might get a little overconfident, the market over-adjusts and thinks that they're too good. But in this case, I think that would have been a really good confidence-building win.
Yeah, I agree.
And kind of a springboard result that they're going to, come out of that game and say, yeah, look, we've got quite a special group here.
Yep.
I said at the start of the year that Sharkies could be a bit of a smoky for the comp, just because they've got really an elite forward pack and a couple of playmakers.
Yep.
I think this is the time for them.
Yeah, I agree, and we've said this in the past. When a team's had a bit of a down spell and then they get a big confidence boosting win, which is over. Let's be honest, it was over a depleted Dragons who are getting many players back this week. But in saying that, I think the Dragons had a big loss the week before as well, and people were a little bit down on the Dragons, so it doesn't look like that great of a win. even though it was very convincing. So I think that could springboard the Sharks, and I think it's a better lineup. You're catching 4 points. I know it's going to be down in Canberra. It's going to be awfully cold, but Cronulla's a bit used to that cold spell as well. So I'm happy taking the points here.
Yeah, we'll take the 4.
Take the 4 with the Sharks. It's
we
an awfully high total as well.
We haven't been all that successful this year going against the Raiders.
No, we haven't. They've been our bogey team.
Yeah, they've exceeded our expectations, and they are quite a good team, and there'll be another time in this season where we play on them. And, we've spoken about playing sides. We don't really have favourite sides. We don't have sides that we hate or love. We just try and find money for the people.
And those teams change. The teams that we like definitely change. You have to constantly adjust.
We've had a best bet on all 16 teams in the NRL at one point or another, and we've gone against all 16 at one point or another. It just depends from week to week. But the Raiders pretty much have been playing as well as they can. And last week, really, a lot of things went right for them to get that early lead. So I think, if anything, the public could be getting a little bit overconfident of what the Raiders are capable of, because the Sharkies are, by a fairly significant margin, the better side on paper for me, with no reason for them not to show up. And you're getting 4 points. So I think that's definitely a best bet. Now, the Raiders have been the highest scoring team in the comp all year, and people notice that. And so, not surprisingly, the total's really high. But the Sharkies are a great team to play under the total because they D up and their attack is below average, to say the least. So I like playing under. But since we like the Sharks, we need to look to play the Raiders under the total.
I agree.
And that total's at 24.5, which is a key number. So that's almost an automatic play for me as well.
Definitely, yeah, I was looking at that as well. And under 24.5, and the Raiders have had a few big wins lately, obviously putting up 36 points against the Knights. Therefore, they hang the total a little bit higher. And I mean, these sorts of totals, these 42s, these 44s, usually you see these in games where both teams are high scoring with crap defense. But in terms of the Raiders, everyone's just, and the media's been blowing it up as well. Everywhere you see, Raiders have scored the most points in the comp, blah, 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 high scoring team. But the Sharks, don't forget, the Sharks have a beastly defence, and they struggle to put on points as well. So I see a bit of a grind fest here, and I'm happy to take Raiders under the 24.5. I don't think they're going to get as many lucky tries as they did last week.
Sounds good to me. How many games is that? Is that about 4?
That's 3.
Okay, let's do one more. We'll talk a little bit of put your tip where your mouth is.
We got the Knights hosting the Titans. Knights -3.5 to -4, and the total hovering around 38.
And you know that I've said that the Knights are a team we're going to make some money on at the back end of the season. They've had a brutal run with injuries. They've got everyone back now. So we probably need to cash in on the Knights. Just be careful with the Titans. Greg Bird's back in the team, so it's pretty much a full-strength forward pack. But they're still without Aiden Caesar. Now, this game was basically pick 'em a week ago.
It was.
Put some money on that. We should have given it out as the best bet a week ago, to be honest. But we didn't. Now it's sitting at 3.5, 4. I've thought about it, and I think we should still just take the Knights. I've thought about different iterations. Do we play try lines? Do we play totals? But I think the Knights are capable of putting on a few points. And by the same token, the Titans are pretty limited with Hoffman in the halves of scoring many. So who knows exactly how it'll go. But down in Newcastle, they really should win. 3.5's pretty cheap for the better team at home. So let's not overthink it, in my opinion. Let's lay the points with the Knights.
Yep, I agree. And yeah, you're right. This was sitting at about -1, something like that, to the Knights a few days ago. And that was actually after the Knights had their horrendous loss on Friday night. But they showed me something in that game, and they'll build a little bit of confidence from coming back in that last 20 minutes, not conceding a try
Mullen,
and scoring 3.
They were rusty. It was their first game with Mullen for about 12 weeks. And it looked like he hadn't been in the team and they hadn't been training much together. That will improve, a full week under his belt.
Definitely.
And, a game under his belt.
The Titans are the Titans are in trouble. You're right. Let's not overthink it. We should have given it out as the best bet when it was close to pick 'em, but there's still value here. We're taking the better team at home. Knights -3.5.
Yep. And one last thing, we might look to make some money on the Titans in a couple weeks' time when they get guys like Zellman and Caesar and Schramer back in the team. But right now, it's one of the weaker rosters in the comp, going up against
could be the weakest roster in the comp.
Definitely could be, and going up against an underrated Knights team. So that's a good best bet there. Look, we've got to talk about put your tip where your mouth is a little bit. We had a first ever round with with all 3 challenges making money.
Yes.
It's just awesome. It's what
People are learning.
when I had that dream to start it up, this is what I dreamt of.
Yeah.
And Dobbo, head and shoulders above the rest. I mean, $9.50 from $3.
Crazy.
I mean, that's ridiculous. That's after all 3 guys. Give them all props. Germ, the Bareback Bandit, and Dobbo all made money in the redemption round. So Dobbo's back again. Really check his bets out. The guy is just a winner in all facets of life.
Yep.
He's nominated Tomo, goes by the nickname of Migaloo.
Yep.
And we've got
Big guy with big bets.
and another big guy, Connie.
Yep.
Fan of the pod. So shout out to Connie, CrossFit warrior.
Yes.
The guy can do 50 chin-ups quicker than most of us can do something else. So let's see what his bets are like.
Round.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah, so
so
get
check
involved, back your favourite guy, and let's see if Dobbo can make it. Well, did he win the redemption round?
No, he was second place in redemption.
So let's see if he can make it, be the second guy this year to make it 2 in a row.
Yeah, let's see how he goes. All right, we better get back into the bets.
Let's go. We've got the Dragons hosting the Rabbitohs. Dragons about +8, +8.5. Low total sitting at 36.5 to 38.
Yeah, the Bunnies are probably going to win this game. They're full healthy. I think Isaac Luke is serving a suspension, but other than that, it's a very healthy team. That's another side that really wants to climb up the ladder. The Dragons are kind of in all sorts, have lost about 5 in a row, but they do welcome back some key players this week in Nightingale, Dugan, and Frizzell. Still missing a couple more keys like Merrin and Nabuli. So I don't love the game yet. We will make some money on the Dragons later this year. Will it be this week? Maybe. Depending on how you feel about this one. It's similar to the Panthers Storm game in that 8.5, probably just slightly too many points. But I do think that the favourites probably will win the game.
Okay, yeah, I agree with everything you just said, and I think we should leave it alone for this week, and this is why the Dragons are getting 4 or 5 players back this week. They've been absolutely depleted. I think they had 11 people out, 11 starters out of their roster at one point, so they're getting about 5 back this week. Everyone sees that and they think, all right, the Dragons are going to be fine, but it takes a while for them to gel to get back into the side. So what I'm going to hope for is that I'm going to hope for a Rabbitohs win this week. I'm definitely not laying 8.5 points for the Rabbitohs, but I'm going to hope that they win and then play on the Dragons in future weeks.
That's fair enough. To be honest, they're both bet-on sides for me. So if the Dragons get a result here, whether they get an upset win or a cover, we might be able to make some money on the Bunnies in future weeks. And we'll still play the Dragons in future weeks because it'll mean that they're back. So that's fine. Let's leave that one alone.
Roosters hosting the Warriors. This line sitting at about 10 and the total at 38.5.
10's too many points to lay, especially against a Warriors team with a lot of confidence.
Yep.
But I'm not taking the 10 either because this Roosters team's the best team in the comp right now.
Agreed. Yep. And that's an easy one. And obviously, the Warriors had a big win last week at home, but they are a different side away from home. And the Roosters are simply the best team in the comp. You could easily just see the Roosters just holding the Warriors to 0 or 6 points here.
You could.
But I'm not going to lay 10. We've got the Broncos hosting the Tigers. This line sitting at 15.5 to 16.5. That might be the second highest total I've seen all year, or line that I've seen all year. And the total sitting at 44 to 46.
Yeah, and I'm actually a bit of exciting news, and we'll maybe elaborate more on this on the weekend. But the TryPod's actually been invited by William Hill into the corporate box at Suncorp, so that's really exciting.
So we'll be there. We'll probably snap a few pictures, post them up
shout
there.
out to William Hill for allowing us into the corporate box. We're really looking forward to that one. So we're going to be in attendance, and not for the first time this year. We're probably going to have best bets against the Broncos while we're at the game, which I don't know why we do it.
It happens every single time.
Now, when you see a points total that's that high, you've got to be looking to the underdog. You've just got to, because you can't lay 16.5 points in the NRL. But it's not always an automatic play. Sometimes the underdog is just completely undermanned and the other team's just too good and they don't really have a chance, and it's not outrageous to think the game could be won by 20 or 30. But in this case, and I'm sure people aren't going to be too surprised to hear me say that the Tigers are half decent. I know Farah's not there, but a couple guys are coming back like Timmy Simona, just to add a little bit of strike. They've still got the rest of the spine in those halves like Brooks and Tedesco.
Tapau's a beast.
Tapau's an absolute beast, and a couple other good forwards in that team too. They've got enough for me. I think they had a really disappointing blowout loss 2 weeks ago. Now they're off the bye, they're a bit fresher, and they're on a national TV game against the top of the table Broncos on a Sunday afternoon. They're not going to turn up and roll over. I think they're going to give one of their best performances of the season. I think they will cover 16.5. I don't know whether they'll win, but it's a high total with a high line. That means the Broncos team total is over 30.
Crazy.
30.5 to be exact. Look, for exactly the same reasons that I just said I like to take the Tigers, I want to take Broncos under that as well.
Totally agree.
And the Tigers team total is around the 13-point mark.
Yep.
And you can actually, basically for the $1.90 price, you can play over 2 tries.
Yep.
And the beauty of that is, all right, the Tigers may not score 3 tries against this awesome Broncos defence, but you only lose that bet if they score 1 or 0 tries. That's worth a shot for me. With just enough weapons, guys like Tedesco, they can find the line. So that's 3.
Yep.
And I'll say one more best bet possibility, and then we'll see what you agree with. But do we look to play under 44.5 game total as well, just for all those same reasons that it could be a bit of a tighter game than people expect?
Yeah, and I agree with everything you've just said. And we played Tigers plus 16.5 a few days ago. But I think, look, you're right, and the Broncos have been piling on points lately, but I mean the Tigers, they're a decent side, and this is a big game, and I think you're right, they're going to show up for this one. And just looking back, let's look back a couple of weeks. We had the Roosters, the best team in the comp, playing the Titans, possibly the worst team in the comp, with a similar sort of line.
Even went up to 20.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, we've got, the Titans ended up covering that game fairly handily.
Yep.
The NRL, it's a close comp. You cannot simply, I guess, you definitely can't lay 16.5 points. But even with these NRL games, you never know. And when you're catching 16.5 points with the Tigers, who I think are a better team than the Titans, against the Broncos, who I think are a worse team than the Roosters, I'm going to take that every day of the week. Broncos under 30.5, team total simply too high. And as you said, I think we're better off playing, over 2 tries rather than over 13 points. Because you're right. You could score. I think they're much more likely to score 2 tries. And go under the 13, than score 3 tries. If they're scoring 3 tries, they're getting over the 13 anyway, really. Let's play all those 3. And you want to go under the total as well? You want 4 on that game?
What do you reckon about that one?
Let's leave it. We've got
okay.
enough.
Yeah, that's fair enough. 3 best bets on that game.
3 best bets on that one.
Yep.
Next, we got Manly hosting North Queensland. This game's sitting at Pickham. Total sitting at 36.5 to 38.
Manly's another team. They've had a torrid season, but they've won a couple in a row, and I think the only way to get away from such a bad season and away from the terrible chemistry that was in that locker room is to keep winning. I think that side's building a role, and they're fully healthy, so I don't want to go against them at Brookvale. The Cows are also fully healthy, so I'm not going against the Cows. Again, it's just going to be an interesting game to watch, but I've got no side in this one.
This is just one of those ones that you see it straight away and you just have to leave it alone.
Yep.
So that'll be it.
That's it. I'll quickly wrap it up. We've got to go. We're taking the Sharkies +4 and the Raiders under 24.5. We like Cronulla in that game. Just take the Knights -3.5. Grab 3.5 while you can, rather than laying 4 against the Titans. We're going to take Broncos under 30.5 on Sunday afternoon. We're going to take the Tigers +16.5. Again, just probably too many points. And take the Tigers over 2 tries as well. That's 6 best bets.
Yep, excellent. That shall wrap it up for the week. Make sure to get involved with Put Your Tip Where Your Mouth Is.
Yep.
Let us know if you want a shirt, etc. And we will see you all next week.
Yep. Thanks for listening. And as always, please
gamble
responsibly.